Methodical, empathetic, you walk into your child's room to discuss their recent grades. Almost immediately, shoulders tense, defense mechanisms activate, and what was supposed to be a constructive talk degenerates into an emotional battleground filled with anxiety. We are going to fix this. In the next 6 minutes, we will walk through a precise method to conduct a no-tears performance conversation. Using evidence-backed psychology, you will learn how to bypass defensive barriers and build trust with your child. The core methodology we will use is the 3R framework. It requires you to execute 3 specific phases: reflect, reframe, and reconnect. Before you begin, you must establish the right conditions. Set aside 20 uninterrupted minutes, remove all digital devices from the room, and temporarily abandon all expectations focused strictly on marks, ranks, or test scores. When a child feels safe, the brain can move from a defensive threat response to a state of focus and learning. This emotional priority is what allows any later academic guidance to actually take root in their behavior. Step 1 is reflect. This happens before you ever open your child's door. You must aggressively audit your own emotional state. If you are entering the room carrying anxiety or disappointment, your child will detect it immediately. This flowchart illustrates the reactive loop. It shows exactly what happens when you bring unmanaged stress to the conversation. Your parental anxiety triggers the child's fear, which leads to academic avoidance and ultimately results in poor performance. When you react to that poor performance with a heavy hand, the child responds with defensive apathy. This is the critical failure point. It creates a breakdown in trust, locking the cycle in a repeating loop. Now, look at the alternative, the growth loop. When you approach the conversation with calm curiosity instead of control, you create a sense of safety. This disarms the child's natural defensiveness, fostering genuine academic engagement and measurable progress. Achieving a state of parental calm is not an optional bonus step. It is the mandatory psychological prerequisite for raising a curious learner. Now that you've regulated your own state, enter the room. Set up your physical posture carefully. Sit side by side with your child, rather than face to face. This removes the feeling of a confrontational interrogation. To bypass their defensive mechanisms, you will use this exact script. Say, "I've realized I haven't always been the parent you needed. I'm working on myself. Can you help me understand how I can support you better?" Watch their physical reaction. Look for dropped shoulders or a relaxed jaw. Do not demand an immediate, profound response. Just let the words sit in the room. By explicitly stepping back from the traditional authority figure role, you change the dynamic. It stops being a lecture they need to resist and becomes a shared problem they can engage with. With the defenses down, we move to the reframe step. Your goal here is to systematically shift the focus of the conversation away from final grades and toward the trajectory of their effort. Use this script to reframe what success means in your household. It doesn't matter to me what rank you got. What matters is, did you improve, even a little? Focus entirely on recognizing slight, incremental progress. Next, you must position academic setbacks not as a source of shame, but as a critical data point. Ask them, failure is part of learning. What did this experience teach you? At this point, your child might shrug and say, "I don't know." Be careful. This is the lecturing trap. If you jump in to answer the question for them, you ruin the environment you just built. Instead, close your mouth. Pause and silently count to 5. Give them physical, quiet space to process the question internally. This silence forces your child to actively take ownership of their own reflection. They have to engage with the problem rather than passively enduring a lecture from you. Now we transition into data gathering. Ask your child to audit their own academic resistance. Maintain your posture of curiosity over control. Use specific diagnostic prompts. Ask them what subjects genuinely thrill them. Then ask them what specific tasks feel overwhelmingly boring or uniquely frustrating. For the next few minutes, your job is to listen for 80% of the exchange. You are trying to diagnose the root struggle. Is it a lack of weak foundational skills, terrible study habits, or a mismatch in how they learn best? Once you have your data, move into the final phase, reconnect. Explicitly validate their non-academic identity by telling them, "Play is important. Please make time for it every day." I want you to become a whole person. Bridge their hobbies into their academics. Ask them what specific elements make things like video games or sports so highly engaging, and explore how to apply those mechanics to their study routine. When you vigorously defend their time for play, you physically prove to your child that their inherent human worth is entirely divorced from their test scores. By following these scripts, you have replaced a high-pressure interrogation with a structured dialogue. This is the first step in establishing a baseline of emotional safety. This diagram shows the performance pyramid. Notice the glowing bottom layer, emotional safety, is the absolute foundation for any academic achievement. Without securing this foundation first, no advanced study techniques, tutors, or habits will ever stick to your child. They will simply slide off. Your next task will be to co-create a distraction-free physical study environment together. But for today, you have permission to rest and simply celebrate this peaceful connection. Shifting from pressure to empathy builds the resilience children need to handle setbacks, giving them internal tools to navigate challenges long after they graduate.